I have mine. How are you?
We're all set.
We're recording? Okay. Good evening. I'll call this January 25th, 2024 Fairfield Plan and Zoning Commission meeting to order. Start with our meeting minutes from June 11th, 2024. May I have a motion? Mr. Harrison,
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve the June 11th minutes.
second, anybody? Priscilla, second. Harrison,
Look good to me. No changes. Thank you.
Corsillo.
No comments.
Any other questions, comments, observations from the commission? We'll put this to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. So see seven hands, yeah, the seven original. What's that? No, I think we have got the seven, we have all seven, right?
You have all 7 regular.
Yeah, so we're all set. No worries. Thank you. So that passes unanimously. Next item is 798 and 816 Sturgis Road, referral regarding town purchase of land for open space. Mr. Went.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the subject parcels total 0.6 acres in size. They are owned in common with a dwelling on parcel number 798 and 816 is vacant. These parcels are shown as lots 3 and 4 in a 1963 subdivision map. This property is adjacent to the Perry's Mill Pond open space where the town's River Lab program is conducted, which makes this an important target for acquisition. You did get a memo from our conservation director, Tim Bishop, regarding his vision for the future use of this property. This is the recommendation. I believe Mr. Bishop is joining us via Zoom, should you have any questions for him. But this is similar to the Westway parcels that we looked at last time. This is a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen as to whether or not to make the acquisition. This would be an outright purchase for open space purposes as outlined in the memo from Mr. Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Went. May I have a motion, Commissioner Harrison?
I'd like to make a motion to refer this for acquisition, I guess. Is that right?
Positive referral for
Yeah,
acquisition.
positive
That's fine.
referral. I think this is a great and rare opportunity to be able to promote the Mill River. I think we have an incredible Mill River Wetland Committee that has done a lot of work for many generations. I think we've all benefited from that, whether we've had kids in the program or ourselves. And I hope the board here will also agree with me. I think this is a very good idea. Happy to promote it, happy to support it. Happy to see Mr. Dilly in the audience, who's president of Mill River Wetlands. And I think it's really good for our town.
Let's get a second. Can I have a second, please? Commissioner Corsillo seconds. Jump the gun on me. No, that's okay. No worries.
Very excited about this one.
No, this is, and I can see why. This is a good one easily. Commissioner Corsillo.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic project. I think the letter submitted by Mr. Bishop really covers any potential questions or concerns that I may have otherwise had. I think the creation of this educational center is going to be a really great addition to the space. And I think the one potential concern that was flagged was these underground storage tanks. But as Mr. Bishop noted in his letter, he has significant experience in conducting those kinds of removals and remediation. And so I'm comfortable with his ability to provide the guidance on that for this site.
Thank you. Commissioner Braun.
I have a question for Mr. Went. So this is our approval, not just a recommendation, right? It needs our approval for this as opposed to just a recommendation like for the subdivision set aside?
No, this is likely going to be a 2-step process. Right now, you're just opining as to a recommendation for the town's acquisition of the property. It's not an approval or denial. The RTM and the Board of Selectmen ultimately have to approve it. A negative referral triggers a 2/3 majority vote. A positive referral, which is the motion, is a simple majority vote.
Okay.
There may be, depending on the improvements that are made to the property, there may be a subsequent application that you may see to make those improvements, but we're not there yet. This is just the acquisition.
Just to back up. Yeah. I was thinking that we probably need a bunch of permits, wetlands and whatnot. And I appreciated in the design elements, they're doing as much green design as possible with, you know, semi-pervious pavers and things like that. Yeah, I think it's a wonderful project. It adds to the continuity of the town-owned passive recreation open space that's managed by the Conservation Commission. I did have a follow-up question for Director Bishop, if he's on the line, regarding the oil tank removal and also the funding. I think part of it was with ARPA funds in one of the documents. And who pays for the oil tank removal? Is that the person we're buying it from, or is that us? I don't know what the cost of that would be. We're paying $950 for the property, or at least that's so far what the deal is.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me clearly?
There you go, yes.
Loud and quiet.
Go right ahead.
Sounded very loud. Thank you. Yeah, the at this stage, like Director Wentz said, we're just dealing with the acquisition piece, but in the future, as discussed with town attorney and the administration, there will be another, this will revisit all of the appropriate boards related to the dollars of the acquisition as well as the upgrades. So at this point in our due diligence, as it relates to the oil tank and other upgrades that will be needed, related to zoning, but also physical upgrades as far as fire compliance, sprinklers, ADA, outfitting on the interior, stuff like that. Those monies will be, that budget will be developed once we could conduct our first inspection. We've retained Public Works Building Maintenance Group, and myself have retained commercial inspector along those lines. And the purpose of that arm of due diligence would not be to negotiate the sales price that's already final, but rather to develop a budget for these types of items. That oil removal would be included.
And
Typically, that removal is in about the $3,000 range.
oh, that's not, okay, that's good to know. And as far as the structure that's there on one of the parcels, one parcel has nothing, but the other, did I read somewhere that used to be a dog biscuit factory, or is that, am I confusing that with something else? I mean, is there any concern about you, in your memo, you said there's no concern, but what was the use of the building?
The building has always been residential since it was erected, I believe, in the 60s.
And is the building staying, or is it being torn down and with another building built for the purpose of education, et cetera?
The building would remain as is and outfitted to accommodate what I envision as laboratories and their educational kind of space for for the curriculum related or non-curriculum in the case of other groups.
It's great. It's sort of a wedge-shaped property that smooths out the edge of the Perry's Mill open space area, more or less. So I think it's a great project. I'm fully in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's see if there's anybody else though. Questions or comments from the commission? Mr. Harrison?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a correction. I didn't call out the Mill River Wetland Committee, but obviously it'll be used by other parties, Boy Scouts and others. I didn't want to call you guys out, but I didn't see John in the audience, so I didn't want to mention that, but it's just a natural place for that curriculum to take place. So again, just happy to see it.
Final comments? Pretty easy application, I think, as far as a positive referral. Put this to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. 7 hands, so it passes unanimously.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Mr. Bishop.
Thank you all for your time. Have a good night.
You too. Next item are our new application recommended public hearing. Mr. Wenzer, we just go through them all at once, or do you want to take a?
I'm happy to do so if that's what you
Yeah,
like.
let's just call them all at once. Old Dam Road, special permit. Coastal site plan application of Town of Fairfield pertaining to a replacement of location of existing tide gates. And next, 1073 North Benson Road, special exception application of Fairfield College Preparatory School for additions and alterations to the arts and athletics. And then 3685 Black Rock Turnpike, special exception application of Black Rock Church for a 958 square foot addition to existing gathering room. I suspect these all require.
They are. I don't have anything to say on any of those beyond those descriptions unless you have any questions, but all of those applications do require public hearing.
I call them all at once, but let's start with just an omnibus motion as they require hearings. Is there a motion to approve the public hearing?
Yeah, move to refer all three to public hearing.
Is there a second from Commissioner Levy's and Commissioner Randolph seconds? If you have specific questions on the items, that's fine. Any questions? Commissioner Randolph, anything? Comments or questions from the commission for any of these items? As I said, they all require a public hearing. Motion is to refer all to public hearing. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. See 7 hands, so that passes unanimously. Zoning compliances, 1499 Post Road, application of the Genzuvert Grill to establish a restaurant in a portion of an existing building, the Center Design District.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant seeks to establish a restaurant in a portion of an existing mixed retail and office building. This site is, as I'm sure you know, is at the corner of Reef Road and Post Road. Tenants include the Fairfield University Bookstore, Beehive, Chico's, among others. This particular space will occupy what was primarily a former Wells Fargo Bank space and a small retail space totaling a little over 4,500 square feet. The total patron area will be a little over 2,100 square feet, and there is a 240 square foot patio space shown on the plan as well. The prior use required 23 parking spaces, and the proposed use would require 54 parking spaces. After a public hearing on June the 6th, the ZBA granted a variance to reduce the net increase in the required parking spaces. Part of that application, it was part of the attachment to the agenda link, that the applicant did provide a parking study to show the ZBA that during prospective peak operating hours, there's generally adequate parking on the site due to overlapping uses with different peak hour occupancies. If you're familiar with that site, there's a lower level parking lot, and then there's an upper parking deck. Other than the parking issue, which has been resolved by the zoning board of appeals, the plan is in compliance with our regulations. I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. May I have a motion on the item? Commissioner Corsillo?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Harrison seconds. Commissioner Corsillo?
I think it's a great use of the currently unused space. I think given everything else that we've been approving lately on that stretch of Post Road, with all the outdoor seating to the restaurants and other shops, I think this is just going to further enhance the area. And I mean, I've been to that area plenty during peak restaurant hours, and there's certainly more than enough parking in the garage of the rear. So I don't think that's in any way a concern.
Commissioner Harrison?
No, I think Commissioner Corsillo covered it well.
Comments, questions from the commission? Commissioner Braun and Randolph?
Yeah, is this, I think I tried to picture where this is exactly, because I never knew there was a Wells Fargo bank right there. This is to the right of Chico's, and then so it's taking up, the bank was there, and then what was the other retail that left, I guess?
I don't remember what it was. It was very small.
Okay.
It's the floor. If you're looking at the floor plan, it would just be that top little rectangle.
So it was a small little
That was
tiny.
a small little store. I don't know who the tenant was.
Let's see, I forgot, the amount of new seats is, I looked at the parking study. I thought it was well done. Clearly, the garage is underutilized. almost always, probably except around Christmas time or something, but the 240 square foot patio, how many tables will be outside there? The only concern I have is that I hear back sometimes that it's some of the ones we've approved, people have difficulty getting on the sidewalk. I don't remember which one, somewhere in the downtown area.
I don't know if you can zoom in on that.
How many tables is that if it's 240 is not really big, right?
They don't indicate, we don't regulate the number of tables and chairs. We regulate parking by square footage.
Okay,
And so the regulations permit 400 square feet of outdoor dining without additional parking. We're proposing 240. So as you can see, it's coming out, there's still 8 feet.
so between Chico's where the side entrance is there?
It would be, the next tenant over is Park Lane Opticians there. They're showing at least a 6-foot wide concrete sidewalk, and then you've got the decorative brick pavers. So there's 6 to 8 feet of clear space.
So you have no concern at all? Do they usually have, do we require them to put barriers up between the sidewalk and the tables?
They typically do if there is liquor service, but they're not otherwise required to if they don't. But I would expect that there would be some sort of enclosure there.
Okay.
But yeah, we monitor that. If there are occasions in which they may creep out a little farther than they showed on their plan, and if we get a call or saying, hey, I had an issue, we generally make a visit, say, the restaurants are pretty responsive to that.
That's great. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Somebody? Commissioner Harrison, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
no, I think this is a really great project.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Randolph, go ahead.
Question too, Tommy, if you don't mind.
Oh, I can,
I don't think, not in this executive session.
you know, the applicant has obviously been very successful with his other restaurants. And I think Commissioner Braun, you make a good point just about the outdoor seating. Because I've noticed, and it's been a success story, there's no question about that here in town, people love it. But like I've noticed, like there are tables outside and then maybe a bench. So like the way it's really difficult to traverse. So who would people call?
So if you're getting feedback from folks that they're having problems with a particular location, just give us a call. We'll take care of it.
Commissioner Randolph, sorry.
Oh, no problem. This looks like a great project and a positive addition to downtown. I think one thing that does the parking study was very well done. And I thank the applicant for going through that process. I think it does the conclusion that that there are fewer parking spaces needed than are required under our code, highlights the need for us to focus on changing the parking requirements for similar spaces so we can encourage the type of development going forward. But the study was very well done. It's a great addition, and certainly will bring more foot traffic and vitality to downtown than a bank. So welcome the project.
Thank you. Vote. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hands. 7 hands. So passes. Next and final item, 338 Commerce Drive, including 316, 328 Commerce Drive, and 270 Haley Court. Special exception and coastal site plan of CDR-328 LLC pertaining to the construction of a new automobile dealership in the Design Industrial District and Commerce Drive District. Attorney Fallon, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, my name is John Fallon. I'm pleased to be here tonight representing the applicant. With me is Mr. Jeff Casey, who's the Director of Facilities for the Police Auto Group, which will be the operator of the facility we're going to talk to about tonight. Also, you'll hear in a moment to my right from Mr. Brian Baker of Civil One, who'll talk to you as our project engineer about our existing site conditions and the proposed site plan. To give a little background, obviously the application seeks special exception and coastal site plan approval to establish the location of a new Genesis sales and service facility at this location. Genesis already has a presence in Fairfield. It is operating and has been operating out of the Hyundai dealership, which this commission was good enough to approve a few years ago. The property is located in the Design Industrial District. And as I think you'll see from our presentation and hopefully the plans we've submitted, it's an attractive addition to the Commerce Drive area. We believe it's going to have a very significant benefit to the economic vitality of the town and the area as a whole. It'll allow us to bring to Fairfield 12 additional full-time jobs added to the current Genesis team that's on site. And we'll be able to also bring in 10 new employees to the adjacent Hyundai dealership, which, as I said, you previously approved. We think it's a very significant enhancement and improvement to the current conditions of the property. By the way, I should point out, just technically speaking, the properties involved here, it's noted as 338 Commerce Drive, but they are, there's also 316 Commerce Drive, 328 Commerce Drive, and 47 Haley Court. It should be noted, and you can make it a condition of approval, hopefully, if you approve this application, that the properties would be merged so that this project can move forward. It's a very, I think, prestigious addition to our area of Commerce Drive, where there's already quite a few automotive dealerships. We did get the unanimous and enthusiastic endorsement from the Economic Development Commission. You have a letter from them, I think dated February 9, in support of our application. With regard to the site plan, which Brian's going to talk to you about, and I won't get into the details, I will say that from the time that we focused on this property, the Police Auto Group's and Genesis's primary goal was to ensure safe and convenient vehicle circulation for service and sales customers for both the Genesis and the adjacent Hyundai dealership. We use that as the driving force for how we would locate this building on the property to ensure safe vehicle circulation and ingress and egress. In order to accomplish what's before you there, we did obtain unanimous approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals for a couple of technical variances, as I lay out in my statement, and that was granted on March 7, 2024. We also had a code enforcement meeting on April 2nd, 2024, and all the plans that have been submitted to you in this application reflected any recommendations and comments that were made. So I think what I'd like to do at this time is call upon Eric Baker, who will walk you through our site plan, and then I'm going to have Eric Limbo, who I'll introduce of Claris Design, give you an overview with regard to our architectural elements. Brian.
Thank you. For the record, Brian Baker with Civil One, licensed engineer in the state of Connecticut, also certified professional in stormwater quality and erosion control. So we were hired by Claris, working for Genesis to do both the survey work and the site plan for the proposed development. So what you see here is in your package is the zoning location survey showing all of the properties. So we have, this is the Hyundai dealership that was approved in 2018 and constructed in 2019. This is the service station. This is the sales department here in this portion of the building. We have additional commercial space here in the single story. This is all part of 338. And then you have the smaller parcels. 316 is a small rectangular portion that's got a two-story small commercial building on it. 328 is an L-shaped piece that wraps
Can you
around.
just put it on that first, please?
Oh, yeah,
It's
sure.
actually coming off of that and onto us.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. So this is the, this was the smaller parcel at 316 with a two-story building that will be taken down. There's a commercial space here at 328, and then this is 47 Haley Court in the background. So the area, the proposed, so this area, the western half of the property was the one that was approved and rebuilt, constructed. All that parking area was redone. The building was done in 2019. Now we're going to, as Attorney Fell had mentioned, combine the parcels, and our area development is going to be on this eastern portion of the property. This sheet C 1.1 is the overall site plan, shows a proposed building layout. So this is the area where those existing buildings will be removed. in favor of the new Genesis dealership in that location. That's 11,250 square foot building with associated parking and vehicle inventory space in the back. It's a little tough to see on this, but you can see on the site plan, one of the main things we looked at is to make sure that we can get the vehicle transport, the car transport vehicles for delivery into the site. They could stop here and unload vehicles and then leave out back onto Haley Court and leave.
Talking about tractor trailers.
Yeah, tractor trailers for the,
Loaded onto there.
yeah, so they'll be off of Commerce Drive now and be able to be on,
Yeah.
deliver on the site, stop and unload. Obviously, we have a proposed lighting within the parking lot. The maximum height of the poles is 18 feet. We have a full photometric plan that's in the package showing that we have safe lighting coverage throughout the site. There's no light trespass to any of the neighboring properties. All the lighting will be dark sky compliant, full cutoff light fixtures.
Which sheet is the lighting plan?
Lighting would be C 4.1. It's got all the small spots showing the light dispersion there.
You go to the next line.
Yeah, and then the next sheet is the grading and drainage plan. So obviously, as this is a redevelopment, part of the Fairfield's requirements is that we put a robust storm drainage system in to make sure that the 10-year post-development storm is smaller than the 2-year pre-development storm. So what we've got is, and this is actually designed through the 100-year storm. The grade of the property, there's a high point in Haley Court that kind of carries through the property. So the drainage is split to the back and the front of the property. We're going to keep those drainage flow scenarios the same as they currently are. We'll be adding 2 large infiltration beds under the parking areas. Those will both have oil grit separators to treat stormwater before entering the underground infiltration areas. So we've got significant decreases in all post-development storms with this drainage system. It's all been reviewed by your and signed off by your engineering department. And lastly, I think the plan, it does a good job of it. As Attorney Fallon stated, it meets all your zoning requirements, save for what we've already received variances for. It'll take these 4 parcels and combine them into one really cohesive development. Instead of having all these buildings kind of pieced together, now you'll have the service building, the Hyundai sales building, Genesis sales and service building, all in this little, automotive property. So, and it obviously also is a significant improvement over what currently exists out there as far as storm drainage treatment and infiltration.
I see building 2 is pretty close to the street. Why not move building 3 up? Kind of have that kind of more cohesive, I guess, streetscape.
So as part of, so with any automotive dealership, when they go in, you work with the parent company, Genesis, and Genesis does want parking along the frontage for customers and to set the building back. And you'll see from the renderings what that's going to look like as we get into the architecture. And that was one of the variances that was granted, was to push that building back to that distance.
But the purpose is simply to meet what the parent company has kind of dictated their dealerships to look like.
And
And
And there were also, as I said at the beginning, considerations in terms of, the ingress and egress and flow once on site in terms of customers, be they for purchase or service.
any other question, Commissioner Braun?
Somewhere I thought I read that the impervious surface is going down by 7.9% or something like that. Can you explain how or where that happens?
Yeah, so currently there, that entire, back to the site plan there. Go right to there. So the entire area that is proposed for development now is paved or building currently. So with our new development, we've added landscape islands. If you go down, so there's landscape buffer strips along the street frontage. And in the back, there's also landscape islands within the property, and a smaller landscape island here. And then this is an existing rain garden that was approved as part of the Hyundai dealership approval. We're expanding that slightly, so that's where your minimization of impervious surfaces in those areas.
And the trees are complying with our tree regulation of 1 tree. Is it more than that, or just basically the minimum that we require? I think it's 1 per 10 spaces.
We certainly comply. I don't know how many trees were done, but it's evident on the plan. Mr. Kenny, who did our landscaping plan, was gonna try to join us this evening. But he had, I think, a conflict. Bill, you're not on, are you?
Okay.
Yeah, so he did the plan.
Yeah, it complies with the number per parking space required. That doesn't take into account, obviously, car inventory spaces are different. Right? It's not 1 for
Oh,
every
right.
space, it's 1 per
That's
parking
Customer
space,
park.
storage.
customer parking space required. Is what, and
Is-
yeah.
I also read somewhere that wetlands does not require wetlands permit, because while it used to have on the town wetlands map an upland review area on the site, but that was since updated.
When we did the Hyundai dealership,
Okay,
the map was amended at that time, so that we didn't need any
so
wetlands.
there's no wetlands permit.
And that was
Yeah.
back in this corner behind the dealership, sort of completely opposite of where
Okay.
we're doing the work. That's where the wetlands was shown
So-
originally.
Engineering and the code review, they basically said, we did this like a few years ago when we did the Hyundai. This is better. We don't have to like relook.
For the area, exactly.
Oh, for the Hyundai
For the
portion.
Hyundai portion.
Did they have any comments on the rest of it?
They had comments and we addressed them.
You did, the stormwater system deals with the whole site and the whole development.
Yeah, so we reviewed the methodology that was used and approved under the Hyundai
Okay.
site. Applied that to our site. And actually the Hyundai storm drainage it's operating fine. Everything's soaking into the ground, and they have a similar system with underground infiltration units. And our units are actually a couple feet higher. We sit a little higher on the ground than that site. But basically a very similar design, and they had concrete galleries. We're using a Cultec 4-foot plastic chamber unit. But basically we ended up with a similar design. We have oil grit separators, as I mentioned, and then the underground stormwater infiltration and retention design.
And has WPCA seen this yet or no?
Yes.
They had mentioned in the code review that. Check it out, you might have to.
Yeah, in the initial code review memo, they had talked about potentially having to do an I&I study. And then when we went into the meeting, they looked at what the project actually is, and the fact that we're removing a bunch of sanitary sewer buildings off of there. And then we can actually identify an existing TY that comes into the site that we can use. So the only other thing we have to add is a oil grit separator for the floor drain in the service area.
I imagine there's nobody living there, not even that many customers to a dealer, but the water going in and out would be mostly for the car.
Yeah, the minimal water usage.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Baker? Yes, Commissioner.
Sure, go ahead. Sorry.
Or I see like a lot of comments on the code review. Were they all addressed?
They were.
You okay with you? Zoning from building.
They were well addressed.
Building 1 and 2 is the Hyundai, right?
Building 1 and 2
Yeah.
is the Hyundai, correct?
Was this, when you came forward, I'm not sure you personally, but when that came forth, was this potential addressed at that time? Okay.
We didn't own them.
which is fine. I just didn't remember.
I did it and we didn't own those assemblage pieces at that
Okay,
point.
so this, okay, fair enough. Commissioner Randolph.
So just to echo Commissioner Braun's question about the tree ratio, if you could provide that information, I did a quick count. It looks like it complies, but it'd be helpful to add that information. And secondly, are building 1 and 2 the same ownership?
They are. It's all part of Belize Auto Group. And as I said, we've had a Genesis presence at the building 1 and 2 site for a year or two, but this will allow us to establish a separate building, but it is going to be an integrated site, and Belize Auto Group does own both dealerships.
And I'm looking at it, I think right now, it doesn't look like, is there a sidewalk that goes in front of building 2 and 3?
No, there's a small concrete walk in this area, yes.
So that will be continuous?
So that will remain in place. There was no room for additional sidewalk.
I'm going to address sidewalks, Commissioner, in my remarks.
Okay, so I guess, Mike, when you provide your remarks, it'd be helpful to see if we could have some type of continuous sidewalk, starting from building 1 and to building 3. Given it's the same ownership. And then the landscaping, it looks well thought out. I think one, and this is just a suggestion or a request. Right now, the renderings only show building 3 separate from building 2, and it's a very eclectic looking area that is improving, but it would be helpful to give some consideration to how everything looked together.
You mean from a landscaping perspective?
Landscaping, sidewalks.
I'll talk about sidewalks.
Okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Harrison. and then
Yeah,
Levy.
actually, I had the same questions as Commissioner Randolph, relative to sidewalks, but it sounds like you're gonna address that.
I'm going to address that.
Commissioner Levy.
Will service be for both in building 1 or?
So service, there will be service for both in building 1. Building 3 will have sales and service, mostly EV service in building 1.
But we will use building 1 for service for both, for some service for both dealerships.
Yes.
Any
Other
further?
questions?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I want to give you an overview with regard to the architectural design, which we are excited about. And as I said in my opening remarks, I think is going to certainly enhance aesthetically the property, also encourage and increase that type of vitality that we've seen over the last half dozen years, maybe longer, on Commerce Drive. So Eric Limbo of Claris Design Build is here with us via the Zoom platform. So Eric, would you walk us through the architectural design, please?
Absolutely, sure. Thank you for allowing me to do this. So the slide here you see is a kind of a, I'll give you a brief overall overview of the building. It's the look you see here is based on the Genesis Retail design document. It's kind of like a prototype design, if you will. And that's to ensure a consistent look and experience for the customers nationwide. And these buildings can vary in size from 11,000 to 20,000 square feet. So again, like Brian had mentioned earlier, this dealership is 11,250 square feet, 1-story showroom service building. And in this first rendering here, you'll see this is kind of a view from the corner of Commerce and Haley Court. And the main building entrance is on the right, and it is accessed from the Haley Court side. The left side, the lower portion of the building, will be the new car delivery area, which holds approximately 2 cars and faces the Commerce Drive side. The right side shows the main, if you could go back up to the previous slide, please. Yep. The right side is showing the interior showroom, which will hold up to 3 to 4 cars. And that again faces the Haley Court side. The exterior finishes is full height glazing. The frames are a black finish, a black aluminum, and the fascia is a aluminum composite panel in a gray finish. If you could advance to the next slide, please. Thank you. This rendering is a view from Haley Court, kind of looking toward Commerce Drive is on the left side, and I-95 would be kind of on the right side. The left side shows the showroom, main interior showroom that faces the Haley Court, and the left side, I'm sorry, the right side is the lower portion of the building, will be a service reception area which holds 4 cars. The front side of the service drive faces the Haley Court, and the rear side will face the existing Hyundai building. So, and again, the exterior finishes are basically the same. The black aluminum frame, the fascia, upper fascia is the gray, and the service reception will have an aluminum composite panel too, but that's a little darker gray color, and that's full height around the 3 sides of it. The floor plan is basically the building. The front is oriented to Haley Court, which is at the bottom of the page, with Commerce Drive on the left side and I-95 on the right side. The top of the page is just that paved driveway that runs between the Genesis building and the existing neighboring Hyundai building at the top. On the left side, the building that faces the Commerce Drive is the new vehicle delivery show space with a full height glass on all sides. And just above that on the floor plan is an outdoor garden with plantings and architectural stonework, which will be seen from Commerce Drive and inside the vehicle delivery area. The center portion of the building, bottom of the page, is the entry vestibule leading into the showroom. The right side is the service entrance that allows a luxury experience where customers drive in and are greeted by one of 3 service advisors. They can then proceed to the customer lounge to the left of the service advisors. There are some interesting features, such as an atrium off the customer lounge. It's like a Zen garden type area that has a large skylight above, so customers in the lounge have a nice experience. It's fully open glass partition between the customer lounge and the 3-bay service department, so customers can view their cars being worked on. To the left of the customer lounge are customer restrooms, which will have all high-end finishes and accessories. To the left of the restrooms will be the employee break room with cabinetry, sink, and refrigerators for the employees. And behind the break room are utility rooms and the tech restroom. And that kind of covers the plan layout. And then the exterior elevations. The left elevation at the top of the page is a view from Commerce Drive with the new vehicle delivery in the center view, and the outdoor garden immediately to the left of it, and the showroom to the right. The rear elevation at the bottom of the page faces the existing Hyundai building and is not really visible from anywhere except from the narrow drive between the buildings. The exterior finishes shown for both elevations are, again, the full height aluminum composite panels in dark gray finish at the service reception on the left. And stucco finish above the black aluminum frames with windows above, and the composite material at the fascia again.
Thank you, Art.
And then, yeah, these elevations again are the same finishes on these elevations. This is the north, the top one at the top is the north side of the building. That's somewhat visible from I-95 with the glass and storefront showroom again. And the service drop off on the side of the service drop off. And then the bottom of the page, that's the main front entrance to the building that faces Haley Court. Again, primarily glass and ACM panels. So
Thank you.
That's basically the overview of the design of it.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
Emmeline, could you just put the rendering, one of the first renderings up? Does anybody have any questions for Mr.
The architect.
I had a question about the coastal site review. Is somebody going to be presenting the coastal?
We've submitted the coastal site plan application, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have with regard to it.
Let's ask about the architect first. Commissioner Randolph.
One brief question. Will there be any additional monument signs on the building, or is all the signs as indicated in the rendering?
Very good question. No, we'll make it, we've had conversations with staff, so we'll make a separate application for the specific signage once we've, finalized that design and, made sure that we've cleared it with both the town and Genesis. So the signage that you see here now is sort of
Illustrative of
aspirational. It is not, we're not asking you to approve any signage this evening.
But, will there be an additional monument sign, or is the sign generally what we see generally?
My anticipation is it'll be generally what you see in terms of, wall signage.
Correct. What's shown in this photo is what's all the signage that will go on the building.
Right. And we just got to ensure that we're meeting all the dimensional requirements, et cetera.
Mhm.
Thank you.
questions for the architect? With him.
Yeah, Mr. Kenny has arrived. So the show is now, so if there were some questions with regard to the landscape plan, Mr. Kenny can certainly address those for
Can
you.
you talk about the coastal?
Well, as I said, if you have questions, we filed the application, and the form is on file. We are in the coastal area. It's technical in terms of, we really don't have any coastal presence. The application has been reviewed by the engineering department. Ms. Harrigan has reviewed it. So if there are specific questions relating to the CAM application we filed, we'd be happy to.
Filed and reviewed and approved by our department and engineering at this point.
Correct.
Okay.
Not to be, it is in the CAM area. It is subject to a CAM review, but in terms of actual coastal resources, it's
Pretty far from that.
yeah. So, but that is all laid out in the report. That is of record.
Questions for either on that or Mr. Kenny?
Any questions on the landscape plan for Mr. Kenny? You had a question, Commissioner.
I'm sure Commissioner Randolph does also. Could you explain where the new green areas are? It's hard for me to see. I can't see it on my phone. Where are the green areas and green spaces, and there's more natural or whatever. There's less impervious surface, he explained, than there is now, which is great. And there's also better stormwater detention now. That's more of the engineering side, because the older sections that are being redone didn't have any. The Hyundai portion did, but the other parts didn't, and now they're going to. But as far as the trees, is it the minimal? Is there any way of expanding it?
Let's have him come up. Yes.
Can I?
Somebody can do it.
Huh? Just tell them. Which one are you looking for? Do you have the landscape plan there, Emily?
I'm looking. Is it after the lighting plan?
It's after, yes, it's the next sheet after the link.
There we go. Got it.
You can stand there, that's fine, just so we can get you on
Yeah,
video.
wherever you're comfortable.
Sit, stand, whatever.
I'm Bill Kenny, the principal William Kenny Associates here in Fairfield. I'm a professional landscape architect. We were hired to prepare the landscape plan for this, and that is what you see before you. Primarily the planting occurs around the perimeter of the development. You have we are using nearly 100% native plants native to the northeast. We have trees, shrubs, and ground covers. Along the two streets, we have a row of trees and then underplanted with shrubs and ground covers. So it's typical street tree planting, shade trees, Armstrong maples, which is a hybrid between two natives, the red maple and the silver maple. And then your sweet gum trees, which are a native tree as well. So those are along the streets, and then there Interstate 95, we have additional planting, and there's the rain garden at the top right-hand corner, northeastern corner of the property, next to Haley Court and that area right there. And then along the existing building on the bottom left, we are adding shrub planting and ground cover planting southwest corner of the property. There. That's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward.
Commissioner Randolph?
We're gonna talk about sidewalks later.
I'm going to talk about sidewalks. That's
Oh,
next.
oh, wait.
It's coming, it's coming. I promise.
Further questions for Mr. Kenny?
So there's more tree canopy now, will be than there is now, quite a bit,
Yes.
it looks like.
Yes, so we're adding.
And the rain garden's already there, isn't it? It's part of the Hyundai.
18 trees.
Yes, it's being expanded, but it was originally.
And could you just point out, the customer parking is the one that has the shade trees, and where's the inventory parking? I can't visualize it. Because the inventory parking. doesn't-
Inventory parking will be typically in the back,
Okay,
and there will be some inventory along the front. Your customer parking, what they'll keep open for customers, will be adjacent to the
and
building.
that's where the shade, but the shade trees seem to circumnavigate the whole site almost.
Yes.
Wrap around both sides.
Is there an outdoor like break area, picnic table or no? Yeah. And
Lounge is beautiful.
I don't know if Mr. Kenny is the one who can just do a quick run through of the coastal, or should that be Ms. Harrigan? I would like to have some discussion of it since that is our responsibility. It's delegated to us from the DEP, from the state, so I would like to at least understand it. I do believe that there's not many coastal resources on the site, and I'm not sure why it is considered except for elevation or distance from the mean high water.
The regulatory boundary is either the boundary of the 100-year flood zone or 1,000 feet inland of mean high water, whichever is furthest
And this
inland.
is 1,400 feet from Ash Creek.
Right.
According to,
So in our view, and we'll have, when we do the staff report for the next upcoming
Okay.
agenda, we'll include our comments, but I can tell you that what the report says we concur with. The site is almost completely impervious today.
right,
There really aren't any sensitive coastal resources on or adjacent to this site, and the stormwater system that they are providing, along with, have removed some curbing around the landscape island, so there's some low impact development techniques employed here to bring some of that drainage into the tree wells. And along with their storm scepter system, it's a vast improvement over the stormwater system that's there today. So given that there's no other sensitive resources on the site, it's our opinion it's consistent with coastal management policy.
thank you.
That will be articulated in the staff report.
Well, there's no boat launch there, so.
It's not a waterfront site. It's not it's outside of the boundary of the 100-year flood zone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. No other questions for Ms. Limbo? Okay, I think I better discuss lighting and sidewalks before I get in trouble, especially with Commissioner Randolph, because he thinks I'm gonna walk out of here without discussing sidewalks. Okay, let me cover lighting first, saving the best for last, being sidewalks. We are asking you pursuant to section 13.13P of your regulations to allow the light poles as shown at a height of 18 feet rather than 15. The lighting consultant strongly recommended light poles at this height in order to provide safe lighting for the site and insurance of both customer safety, convenience, and security generally. The photometrics plan that we have submitted, I think confirms there'll be no off-site lighting effects associated with the 18-foot poles. And indeed, if you go around this neighborhood, which has numerous automobile dealerships, I think you'll find poles in the parking lots at or in excess of 18 feet. So we hope that, as you are allowed to do under section 13.13P, you'll grant that approval for the light poles at 18 feet. Sidewalks. When
Just-
we,
It's an administrative thing, when we get to that, do you need it spelled out a certain way as a condition of approval or just part of the motion?
I think it could be either, as long as the action of the commission documents that pursuant to section 13.13P, light poles at a height of 18 feet are approved.
Thank you. Randolph.
Just on lighting, so I'm used to seeing the more graphic depiction of the lighting spread. I read the numbers. Are these full cutoff pictures?
They are, yes.
They're full cutoff fixtures?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my
And,
understanding.
I'm seeing your lighting cuts. So there's not gonna be any light spread to the neighbors. I saw that's the lumens. We have the lumens.
It's a measurement of the lumens, yeah, the full candles hitting the ground.
Okay, so sidewalks.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
So with regard to sidewalks, going back to 2018, when we got the Hyundai dealership approved, there was a discussion between the engineering department, the applicant, and ultimately this commission about sidewalks in this particular area and in conjunction with the Hyundai development that was proposed. After consideration and input from the engineering department, which I'll talk about in a second, the commission determined as part of the Hyundai approval that it wouldn't be feasible to install sidewalks due to some significant limitations that applied. And they were as follows, and they still, I think, are apparent with regard to the matter. Any sidewalk extension would extend 9 feet onto private property. And this was noted by the engineering departments relative to their original comments, which I think are part of your record back in 2019. Similarly, that any such sidewalk would eliminate the required 5-foot landscape buffer between the sidewalk and the parking area, as is required by section 13.13. The closest existing sidewalk to the west of the property, excuse me, is approximately 1,400 feet away at the Black Rock Turnpike intersection. Any such future sidewalk extension would in fact cross 4 town roads and require sidewalk easements from 11 additional properties. The closest existing sidewalk to the east is 400 feet away at Brentwood Avenue, and a future sidewalk there would cross 1 town road and require sidewalk easements for 2 additional properties. The installation of the sidewalks would also directly implicate the existing location of a number of utility poles. In addition to that, the commission found that sidewalks already exist on the south side of Commerce Drive in the town right of way that runs from Black Rock Turnpike to Commerce Drive, at a length of some 3,400 square feet. So taking all that into consideration in 2018, there was a determination made by the engineering department that, and I believe that is again part of this record, that quote, sidewalks should not be required as part of this proposal. Now, I may, Commissioner Randolph, misinterpreted your comment, and you may not have been talking about extending the sidewalks all the way up. So if you were talking about something more discrete and relative to the internal site, we certainly would be willing to, you know,
I'm just looking at C 2.1.
see 2.1.
Yeah, I did.
We put that up, Emily?
There's currently not a sidewalk on the premises though.
For all those reasons, going back to the 2018 approval.
Haley Court, there's sidewalks on both sides.
I believe that's
Haley
correct.
Court.
Yes.
Sorry, it just takes a minute.
C 2.1 seems to show a sidewalk.
There's a, in front of building 2.
It said, let's see here. 1.1. There's one drawing that says proposed 12-inch concrete, I'm sorry. There's a show a sidewalk on one of the drawings.
There is one small section of existing concrete walk in front of building 2 that goes from the building frontage to the, where the transformer is located.
So the gray, I thought it was 1.1.
What page is that you're looking at, Brian?
1.1.
C1, 1.1?
Yeah, so the stippled gray area with the double line, that is not a sidewalk on your drawing.
Not sure where you're.
Can you point it out, Commissioner? Or maybe do you have your?
You're asking if the green line is the
Above
sidewalk,
the green, yeah, that right there.
that dotted line?
Oh, that's
Above
a,
the dotted line, yeah.
that's a building setback line.
So the solid line is a building setback line?
The solid, so the solid line, solid green line. Over here.
Yeah, we'll
Not the
put it,
green line. He's talking about not the dash above the green line, but then the solid line above the dash.
yeah, he's parking it out here on the middle.
Yes.
Yes. The line that goes all the way across, it's not a sidewalk.
C21.
That's what's up now, right? Emily?
C21.
Yeah, no, that is, so that's erroneously on there, those 2 black lines. That was, we were demonstrating that would end up requiring a sidewalk to be on private property. 'Cause here's the property line. But those 2 black lines, no, those should not be on there. We'll correct that, because that's a landscaping area in there. If you notice it's on 2.1. Now I've got printed on there. If you go to 1.1. See 1.1, which is the site plan, you can see that that's indicative of what we do for site layout.
So 2.1 has.
It has 2 white lines on there that are construction temporary lines that are not supposed to be on there.
So before we get off the sidewalks, there are sidewalks on Haley Court
There are.
on both sides. And it looked like, not on the sheet right now, but on the landscape plan, you're continuing those on the east side of Haley Court, east side of the property on Haley Court.
Not inside the property. The east side, they are gonna remain,
Yeah.
that sidewalk is gonna remain in place. And
Right.
then, yes.
So
correct.
is there a possibility to put some type of controlled access crossing to go to the south side of Commerce Drive where there is a sidewalk? That's across that street,
Yeah, no, I
you
understand.
walk across that street?
So you think signage?
No, just an improvement, so either a flasher, a bulb out at the curb, some type of safety measure approved by the town, working with the town engineer.
I would honestly have discussed with the traffic engineer,
Yeah,
what would be best management practice
But
to make that crossing.
a bulb out right there, or something to make it a safer traffic, dangerous street to cross. The post office is right there. So,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're looking for a crosswalk that would extend across Commerce Drive from the Haley Avenue, from the Haley Court sidewalk to get you to the south side of Commerce Drive.
yes.
We'd have to confer with,
Is that a state road?
it is not. we'd have to confer with the town engineer to see
Yes.
what the recommendation would be in that regard.
I mean, I think I can speak for the applicant clearly, said if the town engineer, I assume what would happen is Mr. Wen can have a discussion with the town engineer. He can come back and fill the commission in your work session with regard to the application. And if there is a feasible way to do it, then I don't think the applicant problem.
Ron,
One question about the trees. There's a fringe of trees along, it looks like the entryway to the highway. Is that remaining or are those gonna be cut down? I'm just looking at an aerial right here. From Halley down, really goes the whole length. to Fisk Road. Are those mature looking trees staying or are they gonna be cut down?
I have to know where you're talking about.
It's probably more for,
Where are you talking about?
I'm just looking at an aerial of the property from Halley. See all these trees right there? That's how you get on the highway, right?
no, looking down the highway there.
How do you get on the highway?
Yeah, there's no entry. So that is actually, she.
Road,
This strip
Trees
of,
behind the buildings,
the
behind,
strip of, yeah, that is off the property.
oh, it's off the property?
Yeah, and that's between the ramp and the property line.
Yeah, okay, so that's staying.
That's all staying.
Thank you.
Questions down there? Questions? Just fine, I mean, just
I mean, I don't know of a more conscientious automotive operator than Police Auto Group. I didn't say a whole lot about them at the beginning because I think they're well known in the community. But they're, I think one of the premier dealerships in all of New England. They take great pride in their dealerships. They are in attention to detail. As was the case with the Hyundai facility in 2018. This is just another example of a significant upgrade to these properties that's going to bring a very economically vital luxury car dealership to this area of Commerce Drive, where other dealerships are successful and located. So we're certainly going to be compatible from a zoning standpoint with other dealerships and uses. But most importantly, this is just a beautiful dealership. It's very exciting. I don't know, I think Eric did a great job giving the overview, but if you really saw this prototype that we're going to establish here in Fairfield in reality in some of the other locations in New England, it's very exciting. And it says good things about Fairfield's economic vitality, and we hope you will find it approved. And as I said on Commissioner Randolph's matter, I'm happy to dialogue with staff and and my client and see if we can come up with something that addresses that, because I understand the concern. Okay, thank you very, very much for your
questions?
attention.
Okay, all set, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That ends the initial presentation portion of the hearing. Public comments. Is there anybody in the room, member of the public in the room that wishes to speak on this application? Nobody else in the room. I'll just double check if anybody's joining us remotely or by phone. Is anybody, any member of the public joining us remotely or by phone wish to be heard on this application? One person. Is it phone or by computer? Well, does any member of the public joining us remotely or by phone wish to be heard? Is it the same, press *6 to unmute yourself? Do we have?
I think so.
Okay. If you're joining us by phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Last call, any member of the public in person, remote, or by phone that wishes to be heard in this application. Hearing none, close the public comment portion of the application. And anything further?
No, sir.
So I'll close this hearing. This application, that being our last item on the agenda, close the meeting. Yeah, if only, right?